This is a story about July the 4th, 2012. I was pastor of Dumas Baptist Church, and we went on a mission trip. Mission trip to Snowy Range, Wyoming. There, a church in Laramie, a Baptist church in Laramie, had bought a snowmobile resort that was run down. And so that week, we were scheduled to come in there and work and clean up that camp. It was run down. It was a lot of work that we did that week, but we took like 30 people with us. 2 bus loads, a church bus from Dumas, and Johnny Pettit had a bus at that time. He's from Pontotoc County, and he drove a bus for us. He loves missions, and so we went on a mission trip to Snowy Range, Wyoming. And so we were doing a lot of good work that week, cleaning up the camp. It was beautiful scenery, saw a good bit of wildlife as well. But on July the 4th of that week, someone from the church in Laramie had wanted us to celebrate the July the 4th with them. And so we were going to take them up on that offer. So we went out to, and had to drive quite a ways out to these rolling hills, probably mountains, but it was just the middle of nowhere where we ended up. And so we were out there and had a good time. They had a cookout. There wasn't a house or anything out there. It was just a man's camp. And just, I think may have been camper. I can't remember a lot about that part of it, but that's not what I'm trying to tell you. We were out there and we were having a good time celebrating the 4th of July, 2012. When one of the men from our church, Bobby, he walked out on a hillside. He crossed some fencing, but the fencing is the wood slatted fence, the sort of like you see at Shiloh. And he going across a hill. He's trying to find cell service. And we were in the middle of nowhere, though. And so I was looking at him walking out across that hillside when a Ford Ranger came barreling down right on him, and I realized something was not as it should be. And so I started walking toward him, and Bobby threw up his hands like, stop. I didn't know what was going on. We went back to the camp. I told him, I said, listen, something's going on. I don't know what's going on, but we've got a church member over there on that hillside, and I think he's in trouble. And the owner of the property, so what's he doing out there? What's he doing over across the fence? And he's like, sort of alerted us, and he's like, y'all have got to go. Y'all have got to leave right now. And he said, I'll go get Bobby. So he went across the fence and got Bobby. And you could tell we were 75 yards away probably. And there was a heated exchange between the guy that got out of the Ford Ranger truck and this man who owned the property. And so all we needed to do was to load up quickly. So we got everybody loaded back on the buses and started heading toward, and then we did get Bobby back on there, but we started heading toward the exit. And these were just like dirt roads, gravel road exits. And the guy in the white truck had gone ahead of us, and the only exit there was like a cattle gap. And he had parked in the cattle gap and had unplugged his battery so that his vehicle could not be moved. He was waiting on the cops to get there. Supposedly Bobby has trespassed on this other person's property. And what we did not know was the guy who owned the property that invited us, he had the only water in miles on his property, and he would not let any of his neighbors have any of the water or use any of the water. And so literally we're in the middle of Wyoming, and we're in the middle of a land water fight. And what had happened, the man in the Ford Ranger truck had had been told to watch another man's property. And when he saw us over there, he was watching the property. And when Bobby walked across that fence and out on that other man's property, the man who was watching the property had called the law, and they were going to arrest Bobby for trespassing. And so it was crazy. And so literally this man had stopped in the cattle gap on the only exit from the property. And we got out of our buses. We are going up to this guy. And this guy is probably ex-Marine. He's probably mid-40s and great physical shape. And here we are. We have 10 or 15 men that's coming at him. We want to know what's going on. And so anyway, Johnny Pettit, built like Stretch Armstrong. He and this Marine are like, they are face to face. And I'm like, and so I'm literally standing with them face to face. And I'm like, here we are. It's like, what in the world am I going to do? So the guy that drove the Ford Ranger turned toward me and asked me, do you like what you see? I'm like, he is accusing me of being gay. And so I'm like, sir, I am their pastor. I said, we're a church group. And all I can tell you is what happened next is from the Lord. I said, is there anything I can pray with you about? And the guy said, yes, sir. Yes, sir, there is. And me and Wayne went over to the other side of the truck, and we had prayer with that guy right there. I mean, this was the most tense confrontation. And it was dispelled by me asking one simple question: could I pray with you? We did get out of there. The law did arrive. Bobby was held for a little bit, but released. And wow, July the 4th, 2012. What a story. If that could have turned out so different, we could have been on the local newspaper's front page, if not the front page of the New York Times, for a range war or fighting over water rights. And the Lord led me to ask the guy if there was anything I could pray with him about. And he said yes. You never know what's going on in somebody's mind, what they're struggling with. One simple thing you can do is just tell them, is there anything I can pray with you about? And pray with them. You never can tell what pain it may alleviate, what heartache it may heal, and what anger it may dispel. July 4th, 2012. What a day. I'll never forget it. Thank you. Thank you very much.